Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. It's Kunamoni Karo. Today we're going to be reacting to Internet Historian, Too Fancy, Too Furious, Wine. I really enjoyed the last one, so I definitely had to check out the second one. I was just reacting to Chainsaw Man, and the show is so annoying that I need to watch something that is genuinely good and not going to piss me off the whole time. I do see this one's about wine. I do not drink at all. Like, I've never drunk in my life. I've never drunk in my life whatsoever. My family just kind of has a history with, alcoholics. So I just never wanted that for myself. Nothing against people that do drink. I don't think anything's wrong if you do drink or whatsoever. It's just, it's something I can't do and something I refuse to do. Let's see what he has to say. Remember, like, comment, subscribe, and yeah.
Come here, little fella. I want to tell you a secret. I'm just like you. We're both down here in the dirt. Mine just happens to be important. You are fighting in traffic, and I am fighting charges of trafficking. We're so similar. You're working a 9-to-5 job, and I am having to look at that. We're both going through it. So don't hate me. I'm not the problem. It's the wine snobs. They're the ones that look down on you. And frankly, I don't blame them. No, he's learning. Listen, let me pull you up by your bootstraps. What if I made you my little Pygmalion? That's a reference that you wouldn't get.
I didn't.
You know what? Perhaps I shall make a series of videos that will give you some sort of clue about fancy things. Yes, that's what I'll do. Something to give you just enough information to bluff your way through a fancy dinner.
Did you know that Da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa?
Somebody had to hold open the gates for the barbarians. Why not me? So let's do it. Let's look at wine.
Why?
The Mountain Dew of upper society.
Ooh.
With wine,
is that real wine or is that really Mountain Dew?
Kill or be killed. And if you want to survive the night, here are 6 things you should know about wine. To you muggles, the words on these bottles must seem like a mystery.
Pie, not no eye.
So, like, before my current job, I did a lot of serving jobs, and I always got yelled at because I never knew what people were talking about when they ordered drinks. And I always had to ask the other servers, and, like, they would just get so angry at me. Like, well, you should know this. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I don't fucking do this in my free time. I didn't know how to say this either. When they told me the first time, like, I want a Pinot Noir, I'm like, I could not find it in the computer. Sorry, I'm rambling.
But us landlords, we, the pink Himalayan salt of the earth, we know what they mean. They are grape names. Look upon this grapevine. It makes grape berries. Now, there are many different species of grape berry. And whatever the berry species is will determine the type of wine. This is Chardonnay. So
the place he was walking in, it just reminds me of, like, the Beetleborgs.
It will make Chardonnay. Merlot grapes, they make Merlot wine. Grape names are mostly French. Gross. But for example, in English, Pinot Noir means black pine, because it kind of looks like a black pine cone if you squint. Here's some of the other names. You can pause it. I'm busy.
Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm just not gonna read them out loud because I'm gonna fuck it up. I know what Riesling is, possibly from a middle high German variant of Riesling, meaning soot. So called because the grapes tend to develop black spots when ripe.
Wine grapes are not like the kind you get at the supermarket. Those are table grapes. You can think of it kind of like the difference between cooking chocolate and regular chocolate. You can eat them, but they're overly sugary and kind of full of seeds.
So wine grapes are small, large seeds and softer. Crisp bite. Okay, I always wondered that. Like, I knew grapes were made for wine, but I always wondered what was the difference between the ones we eat and the ones they make wine with.
And just not as nice to snack on. So the grape type is the main word on the bottle, but sometimes there are other words as well. For example, this Bourgogne. What the hell is a Chablis?
Oh my god.
It's all regions.
Okay.
Allow me to explain. Through the medium of song. There's Chianti and Piedmont, also
Oh my
there's
God, it's
Burgundy,
actually
don't forget
insane.
Chablis Bordeaux. This one's from Italy, this one's from Italy, this one's from France, this one's from France, this one's from France, this one's from France, they're all from France. Look, the general rule, if you see a term you don't understand, it's probably just the French or the Italians being all la-dee-da about their particular region. All right, let's move on to price. Come on, I know a place. We're here. I can tell by the name on the sign. Now, don't embarrass me, I didn't bring...
Like, how do you tell what is a good wine? Because I've, like, bought liquor as, like, a gift for someone before. But obviously I've never bought it for myself. I have, like, no interest in it whatsoever. So it's, like, what determines if a wine should be expensive or not?
my ID. Fiddle-TD, look at all these bottles. So many options. Ooh, a cheeky $200 bottle. And
What?
here, a $20 bottle. Now, I bet this $200 bottle tastes way better, right? Like it's got to be 10 times better than this one. That's just basic math. Go on, though. You choose one. Oh, no. Well, it was supposed to be a trick question, but they both taste pretty similar, right? There's not some threshold that you get to where it gets more expensive, and then it tastes better, and then more expensive again, and it tastes even better, until it gets so expensive and so incredible that it's like nothing you've ever had before. Break through the conditioning. This is just old grape juice.
Oh.
Now, if you're a little bi-curious about a more expensive bottle, sure, why not?
Gold letters grace the label, hand engraved by goldsmiths. Famed wine critics described the taste as mind-boggling.
But realistically, after about $60, the flavor doesn't get much better. In fact, it plateaus out and it can even go down. The best quality to price ratio is all the way over here, much lower, about $20. That's how much you should spend on a bottle of wine. Now, some people will say,
I
That
learned something.
I'm putting my heart and soul into this thing. I'm making an
Oh
art,
my
a
God,
form
shut
of
up.
art. How much is that worth? How much is art worth?
about $20. But what about the Vintage? Well, look at this. A couple of cromulent slender necks. And they're the same price as well. But this one is from 2019, and this one is from 2022. Well, surely the older one is the better one, right?
No, because it may be
No.
bad, right?
Many people think that the wine aging goes like this, and the flavor just keeps getting better over time. Wrong, wrong, wrong! The wine at the store has already been aged at the winery. I don't need to be more aged by sitting on this shelf and just collecting dust,
Okay.
or spending years at the back of your pantry at home. If I'm for sale,
The
I'm
age only
ready
matters
to
when
be
it gets
consumed.
before it's
I'm
bottled.
ready to have your hot lips wrapped around me. In fact, the general rule goes a corked bottle should be drunk within 5 years and a capped bottle within 1 year.
Oh.
Come, there's more. Let's pretend I am a waiter at a restaurant. You happen to be wearing a shirt, and so I have mistaken you as a paying customer. As a waiter, the first thing I will press you about will be food pairings. White wine with fish? A Merlot with pork? Well, kid, I'm gonna have to pair this truth nugget with something you don't wanna hear. The food pairing doesn't really matter. It's all completely subjective. It's cuisine by horoscope.
I would assume that because like anything with food is just like whatever your taste is. Just because somebody else finds something good doesn't mean you're gonna find it good either. Or two, I mean, whatever.
It's food astrology. Pay no attention to the sommeliers in the comment section. They are bullshitting to upsell.
Get the more expensive one. It goes better with the spaghetti.
Or they are a Pisces and you shouldn't trust their opinion anyway. Something else to expect at a restaurant? Expect to get ripped off by the markup. Most restaurants add a 250 to 300% markup on their wine. And the cheaper the bottle, the higher the proportional markup tends to be. So a $20 bottle will turn into an $80 bottle, but a $100 bottle may only rise to $150. Most people get the second cheapest bottle on the menu, regardless of the pairing, and that'll do just fine. And that's it, no more tips. Unless you want to leave me one. Actually, you know what? I got a fucking tip for you, mate. Ad time. I bet you're wondering how I got this cog in my knee. That's because I became the face of Incogni, the service that helps you be forgotten on the internet. I used to be a humble florist. One day we received a shipment of forget-me-nots. But inexplicably I fell in and ate a bunch of them. I forgot everything that day. My address, my web browsing habits, where I worked, what my child's face looked like. I was supposed to pick him up from daycare, so that was kind of embarrassing. I just picked one of the kids that kind of looks like me.
Oui, monsieur.
Close enough. Have you ever signed up for some dodgy website? Have you ever dodged up for a legitimate website and they sell all your details onto a dodgy website? That's where I come in. Incogni man. And a Nonna boy.
Je ne parle anglais pas.
There are data miners out there, data collectors, creating big servers all around the world. They take your name, your address, and your IP, and together they make a big profile, and that lives forever. I am here to send them annoying legal notices to tell them to fuck off. Take Steve off your database. European law this, American law that. Go to incogni.com/internet to get 60% off an annual plan. The cog signal. I swoop into the data centers. Legal notice. Tangle up their processes with admin. Who are you? I don't know. Oh, wait a minute. Incogni Nam. Go to incogni.com/internet historian. Incogni man. Remember me? Yes. No. Who's the kid?
Je suis très affamé, monsieur, s'il vous plaît.
Whoa, that's a good deal. Ad over. Welcome to the Wine Underground. We have our meetings here because it stays at a very pleasant temperature. You know, us wine masons, we control everything. We are few, but many. That doesn't make sense. Look at the back of this bottle. See the No Fat Chicks logo? We put that there. It is the symbol of our organization.
No pregnant.
We have a dirty finger in every glass of government and corporation stuff. If you cross us, whoops, perhaps you'll have a little accident. Last year, Little Upstart tried to make wine actually taste good. You know, like how grape soda does. Cut him up so good he had to get
I don't
stitches.
think it does.
We caught one reporter trying to dig around into our operations. We all know how that one ended. With an airstrike. All right, my little juice box. I'm going to let you in on a secret. Why is champagne called champagne? Well, I'll tell you. It all began in 1668.
Oh.
In the Abbey of St. Peter in northeast France, there's something spooky going on. It's springtime, and in the cellar where they keep all the wine, bottles would suddenly, unexpectedly, explode. Now this was especially...
They made a reference in that in Simpsons too. I don't know, the last video I mentioned Simpsons, but like I can't help it. They like reference everything.
common during morning mass. Ho ho, that's a bad omen. Sometimes the
making beer,
explosions
though,
would
right?
cause
So it's
little
different.
chain reactions, and bottle after bottle would break down the line, ruining the majority of the crop. The peasants were frightened and also parched.
Sacre Blue, lay wine. What is happening?
Sacre
The
Bleu,
monks would
wine.
refer to this as the devil's wine.
Ley wine is cursed.
Le God, he must be anger at us. We need a
Anger
hero.
at us.
In walks Dom Perignon. He is just the man for the job. A Benedictine monk at the abbey. He's got a new role, the cellar master. And it's his mission to find out what the hell is going on here. So Dom starts looking at all the bottles. And what he figures out pretty quickly is that the wine itself is releasing gas. The gas builds up pressure and
I thought that was beer that had the gas.
why that is happening, he doesn't know. But it's his job
'Cause it had,
to
like,
stop
carbonation,
it. So
didn't
he
it?
gets to
Does
work,
wine have
trying
carbonation
all
too?
sorts of things to stop his mortal enemy. The bubbles. In the first year, he tried insisting that only the youngest grapes be picked.
Perhaps this will stop your bubbles.
And it didn't. The next year, he changed up how the grapes were pressed.
Push harder, we'll squeeze out the bubbles.
Son of a bitch. He tried picking the grapes very early in the morning and no other time. Nope. And on and on. The bubbles
time
would
of
win the
day
battle
affect it? That
every
was a dumb
year.
experiment.
For 8 long years, he tried all sorts of different things. And no strategy worked. No, the bubbles. Eventually, he was at the point of almost giving up. Until one day, hey, what if the wine is still fermenting? So he takes a couple of the bottles and he opens them and, it is. We ferment the wine. Once it's done, it goes into the bottle. How does it then start fermenting again? How is that possible? And here the mystery was solved. So it turns out in North France they have very fast changing seasons, and owing to that, the yeast doesn't actually get time to do its job. Instead, it would get cold very quickly in the winter, and all the yeast would go dormant. Then the winemakers would go, oh brilliant, fermentation slowed down, it must be done. They would then bottle it, and they would store it. But
So
once
as we
summer came
complete,
back
it was
around,
just
the process
slowed
would
down.
spring back to life, and carbon dioxide would build up and...
Okay.
He thinks, I cannot change the climate. Perhaps I shall not win the war against the bubbles. Now, the bubbles are his enemy,
Is that
and
why
he
they
has
wait like,
another
extra
enemy.
longer for certain types of
The
wine?
English. Therefore, the enemy of his enemy or something. Anyway, he starts talking to the English, and he goes, hey, how do you guys stop your bottles from exploding? And the British go,
You what, mate? Core! Well, peep at how thin the bloody glass be in it. Thin glass is the problem. Thank you for using this test as speech preview. For a paid version, please go to...
See, the English have created new coal-fired bottles with much thicker glass. Then they put
So
a
they
cork
didn't
in the
just wait
top,
for it to
and it
ferment
allows
longer,
them to
they
make
just made
very
thicker
foamy beer.
glasses?
That's right. He could just use thicker bottles, and he won't have to worry about stopping the bubbles at all. So Dom goes running back to France. He's panting, he's sweating, and there's bits of brie on his shirt. He's going, better bottles, better bottles. Everyone's confused and terrified, but they give it a shot. And there it was. The people of France loved it.
I love this new style.
Even the French royals were enjoying new wine TM. He even started adding extra yeast and sugar to really get the bubbles going. And so Dom Perignon had created what we call today champagne. Now, there's a 19th century marketing campaign that says the moment he
is that why
uncorked
it's
his
like
champagne for
the
the
same
first
thing as
time,
sparkling
he
water?
tried it and said, come quickly, I am tasting the stars. But that's actually a myth. He never really said that. But there's still a problem. And this one, Dom cannot fix. The pulp. If you bottle wine while it's still fermenting, so that you can keep the bubbles in,
that makes sense.
you're also
Like, it's
trapping
made
in a
from a
bunch
fruit,
of
so
dead
it's gonna
yeast
have
and
some
debris
pulp.
and gross particles too. Also, it's all cloudy. No, we want it clear. We want it crystal looking. How will we ever solve this problem? Dom dies.
Well, I guess you never solved
1805.
it.
In walks Madame
That's a
Clicquot.
big
She's just the
time
man
jump.
for the job.
I'm also French. I have come to remove all the little bits I will clench my teeth together and go pitu back into the bottle.
Now, Madame Clicquot was a very shrewd lady. Her husband died when she was in her early 20s,
My husband is dead. Lol.
and part of the estate she was bequeathed included a winery. She immediately got to work, making it into a successful business.
I shall invent a process called lay riddling.
Here's what you do, right? You put these bottles on a rack at a 35-degree angle with the top facing down. Every 2 days, she would give the bottle a little shake and slightly increase the angle. After 8 to 10 weeks, all of the sediment would come to rest in the neck of the bottle.
This is
Right,
interesting.
quick tangent. Did you know that when you increase the salt concentration in water, you can drop its temperature down much lower without it freezing? Tangent over.
Oh.
So she takes this sub-zero salt water
I didn't
and
know
dips
that.
the neck of the bottle in there. Then lets it sit until the neck freezes. Now you have a sort of frozen cork filled with all of the gross pulp, and then you simply pop off the top. And the whole thing goes shooting out as a fun prank for your friends and family. Then they add in a little more extra base wine and sugar and leave it to age.
Yeah,
And with
it's all
that,
good.
Clicquot has just created a clear, sparkling wine. And that is Ridley. And Madame Clicquot is...
The Riddler.
So Dom Perignon and Madame Clicquot are both credited as the godfather and godmother of champagne. Today, the Dom and Clique brands are owned by LVMH, the same parent company that owns Louis Vuitton, Tag Heuer, Tiffany & Co., Hennessy. Actually, pretty much every luxury brand. But why is it called champagne? Well, that's because it comes from the Champagne region, you dummy.
Champagne.
And anything else with bubbles is just sparkling wine.
Oh, so that's a region in France. Okay.
Oh, it's you. I was just looking out over the sunset. You know how it is. Thinking about stuff that happened in the past.
Oh my god.
I remember it all too well. It was literally 1984.
Yeah, that's not,
I was walking home with my parents from the opera.
Come on, keep up. We're nearly there.
it's gonna be
Hey.
fucking Batman.
Let's take a little shortcut, they said.
Cut through here.
We were walking down a well-lit alleyway. There was nothing but quaint restaurants and bistros. Then suddenly, a man holding a bottle of Shiraz came out of nowhere. Just a tipple, he said. I was terrified. I knew nothing about wine. Go on, he said. My hands were shaking, knees weak, arms heavy. Complex aroma, wouldn't you say? Very good tannins? Oh, really? Yep. What's a tannin? I don't know. My parents died from embarrassment right there on the spot.
I'm sorry, Daddy.
Just a tipple. It's too late for me, but I don't
was too
want the
much.
same thing to happen to you. That's why we have to learn about how to serve wine. So you've bought a bottle of wine to show your friends and family how successful and sophisticated you are. Did you know that Da Vinci painted the Mona Lisa? So let's go through how to serve the big three. White, red, and champagne. Let's say you've bought champagne. That bottle goes in the fridge. Champagne is served cold always. To open, peel off the foil and do not aim it at your face.
It
Then
explodes
twist
like
off the
soda?
metal thing. If you want people to think you're fancy, use the proper word, muselette.
Muselé.
It helps to contain the pressure. Again, don't aim this thing at your face. It's really worth repeating. The PSI inside a champagne bottle is 70 to 90. That puts it in the same league as a nail gun.
Oh.
So the cork comes out at about 50 miles an hour. And if you're in a house, you want to hold onto it very firmly with your hand. If you're Bezos, or you just won the Grand Prix, fling it over some ladies. But if you want to be really fancy, you can use a sword. This has
That's
been a
a
tradition
knife.
for a couple hundred years, popularized by Napoleon. After each victory, the army would use their sabers to crack one open for the boys. But the sword's just ceremonial. You can use pretty much any blunt object to knock off the top. A phone,
I would not use my phone.
a shoe, this fish head. If it's cold, it shouldn't fizz over too much, but you might want to have someone on the side with a ready glass. The glass type should either be a tulip or a flute. Although, if you've seen The Great Gatsby, you may notice that they use these. Up until the mid-1900s, people used coupes. That's because, back in the day, excessive effervescence wasn't very cool. So these cups helped actually dispel the bubbles faster.
Oh,
in fact,
okay.
sometimes they'd even use a small whisk or a fork to dissipate
Is it
all the
because
bubbles.
like the circumference?
Now,
is
there's
bigger?
actually an old myth
Or does
that
it
the
have nothing
shape
to do
and
with it?
size of the coupe was molded from one of Marie Antoinette's bubo. But it's probably not true. Eventually, bubbles became a fancy feature, so the flute was adopted. They can be made from glass, but preferably they're made from crystal, so that they shimmer as much as possible. And the best flutes would also feature a small rough spot right there at the center of the glass at the bottom to create a sort of tornado of bubbles. Anyway, as you pour, tilt sideways so it isn't all head, and don't pour more than 2/3 full.
Okay.
Done. White wine. White wine is best served chilled too. 10 to 15 degrees though, not fridge cold. Use a small glass bowl and pour to about half full. And when you drink, do a little sniff test and, aerate it a bit. Then hold it down low on the stem so your hands don't heat up the liquid. If it's not to your taste, cut it with 50% Sprite and add a few ice cubes. Done. Reds. Red wine is not chilled. It is served at room temperature. When you first open it, you're supposed to let it sit for a while to oxidize. That gives it more flavor. Although if you don't want to wait, you can just pour it into a decanter. That does the same thing. To drink from, we want a big bowl on a stick, so you get a full face of the aromas of the great blood.
So people like
When you
how
pour
it smells?
the thing, fill it about 1/3 full.
That wine always kind of
That's
smells
pretty much
gross.
it. However, when it comes to wine snobbery, red wine snobbery is at the top of the Maslow hierarchy.
Crushed white rock. It's like almost like a rock quarry.
Oh my god, shut up. And there's a taste testing thing that people do, and they all go a bit mental, and it's kind of gross, and it looks dumb. But if you think you're ready for the ultimate test, ready to take the one-chip challenge of enology, then here's how you do it. When the waiter comes over, insist on taking a teensy sample. Inspect for color, clarity, and legs. Legs refers to how viscous the wine is. Smell it. Smells like a red wine. Swirl it around on the table, making a loud scratching noise, so that everyone knows you're a connoisseur.
Oh my god, this just
Swirling
seems
the wine
like
glass is almost like turning up the volume on the
obnoxious.
stereo.
When you taste it, you're supposed to get it over every part of your mouth, so that when you brush your teeth,
Is it like
later, it's off.
mouthwash?
Then take in big sips of air. This is where you comment on the texture and taste.
No.
Complex
If I'm drinking
notes.
something, I'm just drinking it.
You yell across the room. Now this is the best
Not
part. You
playing
can just
with it.
make shit up about vanilla smatterings or citrusy undercurrents. I swear, there's a hint of blueberry. It's one of those things that's kinda true, but subjective enough that no one can really refute you. So make a big show of it.
There is a little bit of an earthiness, almost a graphite.
So when people talk
flavor
about
to
wine
this.
taste, they're pretty
It's a
much
little bit
just all
meaty.
full of
It's a little
shit.
bit sort of rustic.
There are definitely hints here of
Okay, I
Monster
never
Ultra
understood like
sugar-free.
wine tasting.
If this is a taste test and you're
That
sampling
doesn't make
dozens
sense.
of
That's pretty
wines,
much we'll just smell
you want to
their own
spit
asshole.
out the sample into this gross bucket so
Ooh.
you don't get too drunk. Do not ask the waiter if you can drink from the bucket. It's the waiter's privilege, and he's very protective. And that is how to serve wine. Okay, that's a lot of shitting on wine, people.
And we shouldn't get bullied.
But let me do a quick 180. Because overall, wine is good. And a little wine snobbery can be good also. Being into wine is one of the great dad hobbies. One day
Moms
you
are
will have a
invited
model
to.
train set in your basement, complete with a little walking path and the grass just
Oh, it's
right.
like Mr. Rogers.
The best part about this hobby is building the thing, getting it just perfect, and then making people sit there while you explain the little trains in excruciating detail of how they work. Now, the fun of Warhammer, that's when you save up for the little Space Marine man, you take him out of the packet, you put on a podcast with some Warhammer in the background,
Of all the Primarchs, Horus is the best kisser.
and you slowly paint it yourself. And then you argue with your mates later
Oh my
about why
God,
the
you're literally gonna
necrophiles are the
paint
best
those?
race. There are people that spend like tens of thousands of dollars on coffee machines and equipment. And then it takes like an hour to make
I
the
know of
coffee.
like the Gunpla
And
models
it's like
and
only
stuff like that,
5%
and I thought that was
maybe,
excessive.
than the ones you get at the cafe. Now, I
But
could be
I
Mr.
think those little
Killjoy and come in and go,
miniature
what's
things
the
are
point
too
of that?
excessive.
Why not just buy it from the cafe? Why not just get a pre-painted Space Marine? Why not have someone else just install the train set? But then there's no ceremony, there's no fun, there's no hobby. Wine is very similar. They're getting a little bit too obsessive about the thing. And being like...
It's like the
Some
painting's
lemon
the
zest
fun.
as well, lemon pith.
I don't think it's fun to paint.
Super tangy.
is the purpose of wine. It's the fun of wine, which is why wine is better than just some old grape juice. And you fucking wine loser snobs, you know what? You're all right.
Okay. Oh, is it really over?
And that's about it.
Oh, wait,
There's just
that's not.
one
There's a
last
little bit
thing
left.
left. The practical. Come on, my little nouveau biche. I booked out a whole restaurant. They serve some of the best blue whale caviar here. All right, you did it. You sat through the whole video without crying. I think this calls for a toast. Steady now.
Don't break it.
Uh-oh. I can't believe you killed again. But it's okay. I feel like we're becoming close friends who can keep secrets and stuff. And because we're such close friends, I'm going to keep teaching you things. That's right. You're going to be just like me.
Oh.
I just cannot tell which of this is blood and what's wine. By the way, this is the second video. If you haven't seen the first one, which is on Fancy at the
Did watch
Theatre,
that one, yeah.
go look at it over here.
I think there's a third one
There's
already,
also
right?
Fancy, the Arts on Incognito.
I
That's
haven't-
already live, and there's
I
the
haven't seen
next
that yet.
Incognito on its way. Do not forget story mode. Do not forget Incogni. And do not forget to dream.
Okay, I really enjoyed that video. Since I knew nothing about wine, learned a lot, honestly. If you want to react to more videos with me, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you later.